Welcome to today's Explainer. If you're building out your study guide for Java, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're taking on the holy trinity of object-oriented programming: classes, objects, and constructors. If you've ever felt a bit lost trying to wrap your head around OOP, take a breath. We're going to break it all down into clear, completely logical steps. Let's jump right in.
Here's the game plan for today. We'll start with the classic house blueprint analogy, then define Java classes, move into creating Java objects, tackle constructors and their specific rules, and finish up with a quick concept comparison.
Section 1. The house blueprint analogy.
So, before we stare at any actual syntax, let's just think about the real world for a second. How does the physical process of building a house translate into writing Java code? I know, it sounds kind of disconnected, right? But the underlying logic is exactly the same, and nailing this mental model is literally the secret to unlocking object-oriented programming.
Think of it like this. Your class is the floor plan. It's just a design, ink on paper. The object is the actual physical house you construct from that blueprint. And the constructor? Well, that's the crucial setup work, like slapping on a coat of paint and moving all your furniture in the exact moment the physical house gets built.
And here is the real magic of this whole concept. Because you have that single blueprint, you can build 100 unique houses or objects. You could have an entire neighborhood built from one single class. But maybe one house has blue siding, another has a red door. In programming, those variations represent your unique data. It's one blueprint, but absolutely endless possibilities.
Section 2. Defining Java classes.
Now that we've got that mental model locked in, what actually is a class in code? By definition, a class is your template. It clearly specifies the properties, which programmers call variables, and the behaviors, which we call methods. Basically, it's the ultimate rulebook dictating exactly what your future objects will look like and what they can actually do.
Taking a look at the syntax, you'll see we're defining a student class. You just open with the keyword class, followed by the name of your blueprint, student. Inside those curly braces, we're dropping in some specific attributes. We've got a string for the name and an integer for the age. We even threw in a display method to print out those details later. So the blueprint is totally written, but remember, we don't actually have a real-life student in our system yet.
Section 3. Creating Java objects.
Okay, we've got the blueprint, so it is time to build. Formally speaking, an object is a concrete instance of a class. But what's really fascinating is what happens behind the scenes here. The moment you create an object, the computer springs into action and allocates memory. Your conceptual paper blueprint literally becomes a physical entity taking up space in your system's memory.
This main program block is where the magic happens. Check it out. We're creating an object named S1 by using the new keyword, followed by the student constructor. And let me tell you, that new keyword, it's a game changer. That's the exact trigger that tells Java to allocate the memory. Once that's done, we can just fill in the data. We assign rawhole to the name variable, plug in 21 for the age, and fire off our display method. Boom! We just successfully built a house from our blueprint.
Section 4. Constructors and their rules.
So our object is built, but you might be wondering, how do we automate all that initial setup? You know, the painting and furnishing we talked about? Enter the constructor. This is a very special setup method that triggers automatically the exact millisecond your object comes into existence. Its entire job is to initialize data so your object is 100% ready to use right out of the gate.
Now, Java is incredibly strict when it comes to constructors, so grab your study guide and jot down these 4 golden rules. First, a constructor's name must be perfectly identical to the class name, no exceptions. Second, it has absolutely zero return type. Don't even try writing void, it won't work. Third, it runs completely automatically upon object creation. And fourth, it can either be a default constructor setting basic baseline values or a parameterized constructor which actually lets you pass in specific data the very moment the object is born.
Section 5. The quick concept comparison.
We've covered a ton of ground today, so let's tie it all together. This cheat sheet is everything you need. Notice how it maps every concept directly to its purpose and exact syntax. The class acts as your blueprint, using the class keyword. Right beneath that, the object is instantiated using that all-important new keyword. And then the constructor steps in, matching the class name exactly to initialize the data. Definitely keep this reference handy when you're writing code.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to try a quick exercise. Look around the room you're sitting in right now. Pick an everyday item, a smartphone, a coffee mug, your chair. How would you write the blueprint, create the object, and trigger the constructor for that item? At the end of the day, mastering object-oriented programming is really just learning how to translate the physical world into code.
So what's the first object you're going to build? Keep practicing, and I'll catch you next time.